November the 2nd, 2023. Guys, we got a few updates coming in out of the Middle East. This one is the latest, and it's saying the Israeli army has cut Gaza in two. We talked about that in one of the last videos. They were pushing to do that. Now they have accomplished that section of whatever the rest of the plan is. But it said, the Israeli army has cut Gaza in two and entered the city. There's a critical speech by Nasrallah, the Hezbollah leader, as the Hezbollah gets ready to enter the war. Guys, there's been firing going on from Hezbollah in the north already, but it says the IDF Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, announced that Israeli troops had cut Gaza in two and entered the city. The next few hours are extremely critical, as the leader of Hezbollah has announced that he will deliver a speech tomorrow, Friday. Now remember, they are 6 or 7 hours ahead of us. Authorities in Gaza announced that the Israeli army had controlled and cut off all roads leading from North Gaza to South Gaza, including the coastal road called Rashid Street. We got some maps. We're going to take a look at this. Gaza City was besieged by the armored units of the Israeli army from the south, from the east to west along Gaza Street and 10th Street. The Israeli army also entered the Zaytun area from south to north, almost 1.5 kilometers. In the last video, when they were starting to move in to do this pincer movement in Gaza, they had reached the gates. But now the IDF Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi, says troops are operating inside Gaza City and are surrounding it from several directions. Again, the maps will show that. The Gaza authorities have issued a statement that al-Rashid Street has been cut off by the IDF leading north to south. And I'm pretty sure, and we'll again look at the maps, that is the beach road. Now they're saying they've cut off all roads. These are just updates I'm reading through, guys. All roads leading from North Gaza to South Gaza, including that coastal road of Rashid Street. Hezbollah announced that it fired rockets, artillery shells, kamikaze drones, and anti-tank missiles against at least 19 Israeli military positions. Bases along the border with South Lebanon, including Al-Marj, Al-Malikiya, Jal Dawar, Ras Al-Nakor, Zaret, Dunhara, and Zibdin. Again, I know I didn't pronounce those right, but it says this action by Hezbollah is considered a prelude to developments in view of the speech of its leader, Nasrallah. Israeli airstrikes and artillery bombardment of Hezbollah positions in South Lebanon followed. So it's like, we're going to come in and do something if you don't get out of Gaza, and then Israel turns around and does something and like daring them to do it. But they are taking casualties. I saw one video where a drone came over. I don't know if it was Hezbollah or Gaza or whoever's running the show. And there was a group of Israeli soldiers, and it landed right beside them. And I think it took out about 18 people. But it very reminiscent of what we saw in the Russia-Ukraine situation, where you'd see a drone come by, drop like a grenade, and a lot of destruction came about that. It's not the same old tactics that we've seen before, where the Hamas would fire some rockets over and everyone would scatter. They're bringing the attack pretty much to them, and it's not the first Israeli military casualties. I think it was yesterday. As they were going in, they called it was like a Vietnam-type counterattack by Hamas, because they came out of the tunnels and that were hidden and kind of ambushed them. And so every time that happens, the Israeli military turns up the heat there with more jets, more tanks, more troops. All of that's pushing to, more than likely, our Ezekiel 38 situation. Now, the action by Hezbollah is considered a prelude to developments in view of the speech of its leader. Israeli airstrikes and artillery bombardment of Hezbollah positions in South Lebanon followed. Hezbollah may enter into a full-scale conflict with Israel this Friday, November the 3rd. That's tomorrow. Again, it's earlier than that where they're at. Some Iranian and Arab media reported. It is on this day that the head of the organization, again Nasrallah, will deliver a speech on the Arab-Israeli conflict. And I saw an image or part of a video where they're already setting up the stage and the seating and all for this big speech that's coming out. According to information from Arab countries, Hezbollah notified Washington that the U.S. and Israel have until dawn on November 3rd to end the offensive against the Gaza Strip. Now, if you think about that dawn on November 3rd here, guys, you know we're several hours away from it, but where they're at, they're not. Otherwise, they claim they will go into direct and open war with all resistance groups. The situation is extremely critical. Reports indicate that after Gaza is cleared of Islamists, a multinational force consisting of army units from the U.S., France, and Great Britain may enter. Now, Iran is saying that is their red line. You come in here and you occupy it with the U.S. or Great Britain, France, or the UN, that they're not going to go along with it, guys. And we're talking about Persia. Iran is Persia. And that's who took out Babylon in the beginning. And they're about to do it again, it looks like. But, guys, if you look at all the nations that are in the prophecy about this, you're talking about Russia, Turkey, Iran, Egypt, and parts of northern Africa, all through there, Sudan. You've got Hezbollah. You've got all of that. And it says in the prophecy that God is leading this attack. And they're saying that the chairs are set up for the large crowd. I saw that image. Lebanon's Hezbollah simultaneously attacks 19 positions in Israel along the border with Lebanon. I'm just going through these updates. Now, I haven't heard much about it, but the Wall Street Journal is saying that Russian Wagner Group, who's now been taken, or the chief of it now, is the son of the fellow that got killed in the plane crash that was the leader of Wagner. But Wagner has sent the Pantsir air defense system to Hezbollah. Here you go. Here is Rosh in the prophecies concerning this. Russia, again, think about that. Turkey, Iran. The Wall Street Journal implicates Russian and Wagner in Lebanon's Shiite Hezbollah organization and the Middle Eastern war. That's exactly what prophecy, regardless if it's forced prophecy or whatever, or they're playing it by the letter, that's what it says. The American newspaper, citing U.S. intelligence officials, claimed that the Russian-backed military company Wagner is planning to send advanced air defense systems to Hezbollah. According to the Wall Street Journal, again, the weapon in question is the Pantsir S-1 system, which relies on anti-aircraft missiles and guns to intercept aircraft. As U.S. officials always claim, no handover has yet taken place, but talks between the two sides on the matter are causing concerns in the U.S. Well, you got to think about the people in Europe and Russia's, how they feel about it. They're seeing an encroachment basically in the southern border of their side of the world. They're also saying that the Wagner fighters have already been deployed in Syria, where Hezbollah headquarters is also located. The Israeli Defense Force announced today that they consider everything going on in southern Lebanon, again, that's on the northern Israeli border, to be the responsibility of Hezbollah. Thus, in response to the rocket attacks today on northern Israel, the IDF has launched an air operation against Hezbollah positions. Again, you can see where there's a lot of Twitter links here, guys. I can't show you that. You'll get a copyright strike. But you can come here and click on them. You'll get the link. Now, these maps were from yesterday, guys. What you're looking at is Gaza, and this is in the blue is where the Israeli forces are coming in. They're saying the northwest, the northeast section, and down the middle. This is Gaza City here. And yesterday, this blue area was almost all the way to the sea, but now it is, and that's the highway that's been cut off. And all of the highways going north and south from this area here, this blue section, there's no travel unless someone was attempted. And I think they're putting some pretty heavy artillery on anything that moves on that highway unless it's IDF. Now, going back to yesterday, you're looking at the Egyptian military and tanks. They are now on the southern Gaza border in the Sinai Peninsula saying, ahead of another major Arab-Israeli war, Egyptian tanks and TT or Rafah, that's where the crossing coming out of Gaza is, Cairo to Israel. Forget Sinai. You're not going to put these refugees there, is what they're saying. We will sacrifice 1 million lives if necessary. And Israel, they're saying, has even offered to cancel some of the debt that Egypt owes them to allow this to happen. They're not going to let it go down like that. Now, before I forget, I was reading to where Putin has decided not to re-sign the nuclear treaty between, I guess, most of the United Nations groups, but he's basically not going to renew it, tearing it up because of what the U.S. and everyone else is doing. Going back to this, Egypt has stationed dozens of tanks and armored vehicles near the Rafah border crossing into Gaza. Egypt fears an influx of tens of thousands of refugees from the fighting between Israel and Hamas. And with the Egypt situation there, guys, I don't think that Israel at this time wants to open up more conflict. They kind of got their hands full. But again, they're saying from Egypt, we're ready to sacrifice millions of lives to ensure that no one violates our territory. It says Egypt will never allow anything to be imposed on it, and adding that regional issues will not be resolved at the expense of Egypt. Guys, I mentioned this before, but a very intriguing part of this political military puzzle is that you're looking at B-1Bs from the U.S. These are bombers, huge bombers, and they are at Incirlik Air Base in Turkey. They're getting ready they're doing practice runs for mass bombardment of targets. They're saying Joint Strike Force Sayre 5 and the Arleigh Burke and Etria mass attacks by Houthis. When you think about U.S. bombers in Turkey, how will that play out? Turkey, again, is one of the major players in the upcoming battle that's prophesied in the Old Testament. So there's going to be a very quick changing of somebody's priorities. Will Turkey kick the U.S. out? Will there be a war because of that? Or will the U.S. possibly turn on Israel? They had, you've got billions of dollars in Iran that came from our taxes. It is definitely a dense fog of war right now. It says Incirlik Air Base issued a statement on the matter last night. This is about the B-1 bombers. They're doing a hot pit exercise. How quickly can they get in and out? According to the statement, American B-1B bombers landed at the airport for training and resupply purposes. The B-1B Lancers originate from Dyess Air Force Base in Texas and are deployed to RAF Fairford in the United Kingdom as part of Bomber Task 24-1. In particular, the two B-1B strategic bombers performed hot pit refueling for the first time. That is, they landed in Incirlik Air Base and were refueled by the ground crews without stopping the engines. Again, just it's confusing to me. The two American B-1Bs, after the 2-hour hot pit refueling, took off and conducted joint training with Turkish KC-135R aerial refueling aircraft and F-16 fighter jets. I hate to say this. Either the U.S. is going to stab Israel in the back or Turkey's going to stab the U.S. in the back. There's only two options that's going to happen with this situation developing the way it is. And looking back at yesterday also, it says a dangerous statement from Israel. Think about this. Once we finish with Hamas, it will be Hezbollah's turn. Of course, they're attacking on the northern border. And then today, Hezbollah responds with attacking 18 or 19 positions in northern Israel, and they're about to come out with a statement about what they're fixing to do about the situation here. Will it be an open threat as far as you either get out of Gaza or we're bringing everybody down on you? We don't know yet. We've heard a lot of that rhetoric. We have seen some action from Hezbollah and the Houthis in South Yemen. But guys, we just don't know. All I can do is bring you this information, try to put the pieces together. But there is a lot of confusion, I think, when you see Turkey and the U.S. working together in these days and times. But we're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.